just a baby. My mama told me, son, always be a good boy. Don't ever play with guns.
So I'm pleased to announce the official release of Supreme Ultra's 1.4.2 for the Raspberry Pi 5. Again, this is a customized image. This is not an official release by the Retropie official team. This is an unofficial build made by the Supreme team. So currently I am using a PNY USB bootable drive consisting of 256 gigabytes. However, this will also work for any SSD drive or a SD card. You will actually get the best speeds with using an SSD. I believe the approximate image size or the base image size of this is anywhere between 16 to about 28 gigabytes. Currently, I have all of the systems loaded up on here, ranging anywhere from your basic ZX Spectrums to PlayStation 2 emulation. If you guys want to see a lot of compilation videos of PlayStation 2 emulation, you're also free to check out my affiliate channel, Arcade Media. So first up, everything that you guys are familiar with the Raspberry Pi and Retropie is on here. We're going to first take a look at our options. And in our options, we have controller tools, joystick selection. This will also reset all of your controllers, and it also comes included with the send in light gun script as well. We have our emulation tools, configuration editor, save single folder, RPC, and Retropie tools. We have our audio, Bluetooth, emulation station collection settings, game utility list, as well as ES Pathfinder file manager, and you can overclock your Pi as well. Now, I wouldn't suggest trying to do 3000 gigahertz or 3000 megahertz on this. I would keep it somewhere around 2900 if you want to. However, you don't need to overclock any of these settings to get an optimal performance. In fact, I know many people still try to do that, but you don't need to overclock. I've even done it myself. There's been no noticeable differences, and even on the GPU side, you can overclock it to about 970 or 980 before any type of crashes or any type of errors will occur. Reference utility menu, you have RetroArch NetPlay, run command, and this will also show you your IP so you guys can log in through WinSCP and transfer all of your ROMs and media. Over here we have our visual tools. We have our bezel custom script, bezel project, ES themes, loading screens, media, Raspberry Pi, video output, RetroArch, Visual Tools, splash screens, and Switch Genesis Mega Drive. Now, originally, if you guys may have been familiar with this, back in 2019, we came out with this script called the Raspberry Video Output. This is also called Arcade 1-Up Ready, which allows you to change your screen ratio from either 4:3, 16:9, or to 5:4 ratio. I know there's still some confusion about this, but this also means Arcade 1-Up Ready because the script is there. Over here, we have our front end switcheroo. I believe KDE Plasma may be included with this, but this will allow you to boot directly into Emulation Station, Kodi, Linux, and I believe KDE Plasma. Raspberry config, we have this setting here. Retropie setup, you guys are familiar with this. This allows you to go in and download additional drivers for your controllers, as well as additional emulators. Now, the majority of emulators are on here. The only ones I think that aren't included or would be like your Hephaestus Singe. I think Daphne's loaded on here, but there's some other obscure emulators you could choose to download if you do want to. Now, I know a lot of you have questions like what are some of the differences between Retropie and Batocera. Batocera is a little bit locked down. You don't have the option to download some of the emulators of your choice. I know some have reached out to me and told me that they couldn't download Opera or compile Opera, which is the 3DO emulator. However, with this, you will be able to download whatever other emulators you want from other various sources. The Fix My Build script allows you to reinstall or reset up your Retropie or this current Retropie image back to its original defaulted settings. So if you do run into an error where you download something or corrupt some files, this will erase everything and return your build back to its original form factor. Now, however, if you made a lot of customizations to it, most of those will unfortunately get erased. But this is a great backup utility that has been on several of the Supreme images in the past. Currently, this supports, I believe, over 200 and something systems on the Raspberry Pi 5. I've personally gone through, out of 4,000 PlayStation 2 games myself, I've gone through about 800 and found that those 800 are fully optimized and capable of working. Now, a lot of the games for PlayStation 2 will require some tweaking on your own in order to get them to run at full speed. This is not so much a plug-and-play scenario where you just install or set up the game itself. You will have to put in some work to understand the emulator to get the best out of it. All the PlayStation games run fine. If you guys are familiar with all the PlayStation 4, Raspberry Pi 4 stuff, all your basic settings up to PlayStation will run fine, including Sega, Dreamcast as well. Now, some additional things and notes. I know a lot of people still believe that N64 lags and that Sega Saturn didn't work. That all those worked on the Raspberry Pi 4. They do run a little bit better here on the Raspberry Pi 5, but that's a bad misconception. I know a lot of people are still putting that information out there that Nintendo 64 did not work on the Pi 4. It did if you set your settings correctly. Sega Dreamcast, Sega Saturn, those all work to an optimal ability. I know with the Raspberry Pi 4, Sega Saturn did have some hiccups and have some issues with a lot of the 3D based games. However, they do run well on here as well. Also, too, with the Nintendo Wii, if you guys have seen some of the video footage, which we'll also show here in this video, Nintendo Wii emulation runs really great. In fact, I've optimized it, had a lot of good experiences, such as Brawl Brothers. Let's see, we've had Smash Brothers, also Mario Soccer, that ran well too, and Tatsunoko versus Capcom. So you guys will be pretty pleased with some of the performances with the Nintendo settings and whatnot. Now, as far as some of the other front ends, I did get a chance to try out Batocera and Recalbox. Recalbox isn't supporting the Ether PlayStation 2 emulator because it is closed source. So for those of you wondering what are some of the differences between this, why would I download this or use this Retropie version, as opposed to maybe, let's say, something with Batocera or Recalbox. So Recalbox is not supporting Ether PlayStation 2 emulation from what I understand, and also Batocera is struggling with it. At first it wasn't working, then they tried to get it working again, and then as far as some of the Nintendo emulation, Nintendo Wii emulation, it's really it still has some hiccups and whatnot based upon from what I've seen and from what I've tested. So currently there's over 200 systems that are supported here. I've had over 3,000 arcade games that are on here. NFL Blitz and Killer Instinct still has some issues. Killer Instinct runs a little bit better than what you guys would typically be capable of. That's at a stock speed. I have not adjusted any settings for that for Killer Instinct 1 or Killer Instinct 2. NFL Blitz is still hiccups and there's still some sounds with that. I haven't spent a lot of time with it, but you know, for the most part, there's more than enough power for these single board computers now to run any one of these games, and it has to do with an architecture issue, and it has nothing to do with the actual board itself. I mean, a lot of the performance and stuff is just really not optimized for what it needs to be right now, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on that. But all your noticeable favorites that you guys have had with arcade sets, they pretty much run on here as well. Next, we're going to take a look at our ports. We're going to go into ports here. And here you can access KDE Plasma Desktop. We also have Firefox web browser, Cloud Gaming, and Chromium browser. Now with Cloud Gaming, if you guys have seen, we first introduced this at the middle of last year, around June or July, on their Orange Pi 5. And Cloud Gaming will allow you to log into your Xbox Cloud Gaming setup, NVIDIA Cloud Gaming, and Stream, and also Amazon Luda. If you guys have an account with any one of those, which is a separate subscription, it's all perfectly legal. This will allow you to play all of your computer-based games or use the entire Xbox library gameplay footage or gameplay access, directly on your Raspberry Pi 5. I have a lot of playlists on this, and it's a very fun experience. In fact, it opens your eyes and your opportunities to continue to game on your Raspberry Pi device and get some enjoyment out of it. Now, the cool thing about using the cloud gaming aspect in terms of using, let's say, your PC or your Xbox, is it does reduce your power consumption. So typically you would play on your Xbox or maybe a computer for cloud gaming access, but this will save you some money on your electric bill, because your Raspberry Pi can be powered by a battery. So if you guys want to use that and use it in a portable fashion, you can also do that as well. So we've kind of covered some of the options as well as all the themes that are here or included within this particular build. But overall, Supreme Team has made a lot of drastic changes to this. Again, the only thing that really hasn't been included on here is that video output script for the second marquee. If you guys are familiar with the marquee script, where you can add in an additional video monitor or LCD screen, that is not included on this version. There was a lot of time and work put into this to make this optimal as possible, and that's pretty much where we are. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into some of the gameplay so you guys can kind of get an idea about what this particular build can do. And currently, if you want to download this, you have either two options. Either one, you can come over to my Patreon and download this, or you can go over to the official Supreme Retropie Gaming Facebook group, message one of the moderators or the admin of the page, and you can get access to download this. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this and check out the performance that Supreme Ultra on the Raspberry Pi 5 has to offer. Alright, so first up on the list, we have Nintendo Wii's Super Smash Brothers. This is a pretty cool game. This is not my forte. I'm not really good at it. But if you guys can notice this and maybe compare it to some of the other images, this is running not only at full speed, but a very optimal rate. I can't remember what my resolution is set at to this, but there is very little, or if not very non-seeable, any hitches or audio glitches within this. All right, now next up we have PlayStation 2's Tekken 5. Now, if you guys have been following me for quite some time, I use this game to kind of benchmark and get a better idea about how the Ether emulator is supposed to work. But so far, I have everything running at more than 100%. It runs pretty good throughout all levels, so I hope you guys enjoy some of this gameplay.
You round 2. Fight. You continue. Get ready for the next battle. Round 1. Fight. You round 2. Fight. You continue. Get ready for the next battle. Round 1. Fight. You round 2. Fight.
Next up, we have PlayStation 2's NHL Pro Hits. Now, this one was very tricky. In fact, I did a video on this originally, and I was like, you know what, I think this game is pretty much out of touch. But after doing some more tinkering, I did decide to kind of mess around a little bit more with the emulator. And lo and behold, surprisingly, I was able to achieve 100% frame rate optimization with this particular game, and I hope you guys enjoy it.
Passes it back to Hartnell. Rear! A stick save. Coughed out. He shoots. And another save. Unbelievable.
Next up, we have Nintendo Wii's Tatsunoko versus Capcom. Now, this one sometimes can present a challenge. Sometimes the audio will kind of glitch in and out a little bit. I can fix that. I actually just haven't had a chance to really go back in and really mess around with the emulator. But for the most part, it definitely runs at an acceptable rate and some pretty good speed. Time Crisis 3 on PlayStation 2. Light gun game. And yes, light gun games are capable on PlayStation 2 and the Raspberry Pi 5. And finally, we have Time Crisis 2 here on the PlayStation 2 as well. Now, I'm not going to go through all the games or discuss any settings in this. There are a few noticeable ones that I know that's just pretty much out of reach, and it was pretty much impossible for me to optimize. Now, most of those games would be your Outworld type games, like let's say your Metal Gear Solids. There was a few of those, as well as True Crime Streets of LA and New York. They ran pretty good in some instances, but then there were other places where the frames per second was like maybe 1 or 2, and I just couldn't do anything with it. But you know, there are a number of robust games that are available to emulate well on the PlayStation 2, and I'm pretty much, you know, proud as far as, you know, where we are. Now, I will have some other comparison videos coming up in regards to, you know, how does the Raspberry Pi 5 stack up against some of the other emulation and other single board computers. So make sure you hit your notification bells for that. And if you do want to see more extensive gameplay, I do have a playlist here on this channel, as well as the affiliate channel Arcade Media, so you can kind of get a better idea about how some of these games will run. But some of these games all have individual settings. You know, many people have asked me, hey Keo, where are those settings? I want to run this game at this particular settings. It's kind of tricky because a lot of these games have different settings that you need to go through, and if you aren't familiar with what textures are in the game or whatnot, you could use some of those settings on another game, and then those won't work for another game. So the key here, especially when you're trying to make an image, is to kind of find the overall setting that will work, or the best optimization that will work with a number of these games, and kind of sticking to that and get those gameplays. But unless you really know what you're doing, you're going to be tinkering every game to get the best optimal playing out of it for, you know, while you're playing it, while you go through your particular games. But for the most part, I think you guys will be happy with this showcase. Make sure you like and subscribe, and hit me up on my Facebook group. I'm reachable anywhere. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, and also on Patreon as well. So for now, I will catch you guys later. You guys all have a great night. Hope you enjoyed what you've seen here, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.
I will make you suffer! God of War! None shall defy me! I will make you suffer!